UnGilded Season 1, Episode 8.
So in episode 8, obviously we're coming near the end of the season, so they're starting to do the pre-wrap up of everything. So
They're tucking it up.
yeah, they're tucking it up in Newport, but they're trying to do all the little wrap ups. So Bertha finally gets to Newport. She's at McAllister's. Uh, Bodan has a secret. We see him in the street arguing.
Finally,
He's keeping it to himself. He's not
Yes.
telling anybody what it is. And then what's the valet? The valet, he introduces himself finally to the woman that he has been spying on in the street that everybody presumes is his daughter. So they finally
Watson.
meet each
Yes,
other.
yes.
Watson and
Thinking
his
of season
daughter
2.
finally meet. And we find out his name is Collier. Collier.
Collier,
I don't know why I
yes.
keep saying that. Collier. And there's another Peggy's secret comes out because Miss Armstrong reads her secret, reads her mail, and lives to see another day after
I'm
doing
like,
it.
what the equivalent of that was like back then.
And George goes to court. So this is a power-packed episode.
It is.
Episode 8.
Let's start.
Where shall we begin?
I was going to say, let's start with George going to court, shall we?
Yeah.
Because, like he said, I knew this was going to happen. It was inevitable. And that's why they, he put certain things in place. Okay, cool. But for him to be going through all of this by himself, and you can tell the children are concerned, and once again, Bertha's reaction is like well, you just have to make sure this doesn't mess up my stuff, and I'll support you. We'll get through it. He's dealing with this on his own, really.
What are you doing to help me get through? You're going to Newport with McAllister. Does that help me? I'm just going to pay it no mind. I'm just going to act like it's not happening. Well, that's really helpful. He thinks he might go to prison.
Oh my goodness.
His staff is doing they haven't found anything that's going to help him.
They said their job is to prepare you for the questions. That's your job? He needs
Right.
2 of you to prepare him for the questions?
He has Pinkerton and other people investigating and looking into things.
Illegally.
And everything that you have found has been detrimental to his case. So he is feeling like he's just out there. And the only thing that saves him in the end is a coincidence. And what coincidence is it? My girl Marion shopping for gloves.
Marion and her gloves!
There she goes to Bloomingdale to get some more gloves.
Yes!
And lo and behold, who's in front of her? The person who she oddly asked at the beginning of the show when Marion ran into Oscar, and Oscar said he was going up to Newport and he was going to be staying with Mrs. Fish, but he was going up there with Larry Russell because Larry Russell's going up there too. When Miss Ainsley, the woman who helped get George in this position, who works for him as stenographer, when she came up and gave Larry some papers to give to his father, I thought it was very contrived. It just seemed strange that Marion would say, "Who was that?
Yeah.
Y'all don't care about nobody. You don't look at the footmen. You don't see them coming and going. Everybody is just help to you. Why all of a sudden you want to know who this is?"
Who this random
and then
woman is.
she recognizes her, of course, when she's fulfilling her glove fetish. She recognizes her in Bloomingdale's, and that's another thing. I realize that things have changed a lot. People used to keep their doors open a lot, or they trusted people more. If somebody left their purse in a store,
I knew what you were
and
gonna
some
say.
random person you don't even know, they should know where she's in Bloomingdale.
I was going to say, even if they do know.
But when she comes in, they do not greet her like they greeted her buddy.
Right.
They don't know. They don't greet you as Miss Nothing. They don't know that you Miss Brooke. Why would you give somebody else's purse? Because she said, "Oh no, I don't know her." But first of all, she said, "Do you know her?"
I was going to say, let's
That
look
in
at the whole
itself,
chain.
she could have lied and said, "Yep, I know her. Give me her purse." But on top, she says, "I know where her employer lives."
I'm going to give it to her boss.
That just sounded so crazy to me, but whatever. that's what saved
I
George.
agree.
It was just a
His
strange
luck.
thing.
So your attorneys, your counselors, whatever their title was, they were you paid these men for nothing.
You're right.
For absolutely to explain the legal process to you. That's what they were there for.
That was pretty much it.
And
pretty much it.
Prediction real quick between Marion's gloves saving his business, keeping him out of jail. That man could have gone to prison, okay, for manslaughter. There was that when Bertha said, it was something that happened in, the at home for one thing. Marion defied her aunts and came to the at home at the beginning of the season. Just a few little things that happened, and I noticed George was like, "Oh, Miss Brooke, that's nice." Oh,
he always says
thank you,
that
Miss Brooke.
When they voted her on to the board of the Red Cross, and she said, in Aurora Fane and Clara Barton. And
that was the other
thing.
And
he was like, "Oh, Miss Brooke."
Yeah, but how she stood up for her too. And again, this is not an Aurora Fane type of relationship. No. Even though we said it did progress and it did seem like Aurora and Bertha ended up liking each other and being friendly by the end of the season. Marion she's not beholden to her for anything at all. She just, like we said, is rooting for new money and for some reason likes Bertha and has her back.
Which I have no idea
But the prediction
why.
is because of those things and because that's how George feels about Marion, we said, you want to tell him now? What we said about season 3? You want to tell him now?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
We said that we saw a will they, won't they thing between her and Larry Russell. And I think something is going to happen, some connection between her and the Russell family, even if it isn't her and Larry getting married, and George is going to come to her defense because they built this relationship.
Well, no, George definitely respects her and kind of admires her for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. He seems to.
She's a plucky young thing.
Right. I liked it when George, in episode 2, went into the bazaar and bought everything and just let these women know, "I don't appreciate the way you treat my wife." I really loved it when Peggy told Marion off outside of her house after she showed up at her parents' house uninvited with them stupid shoes. I also enjoyed watching George talk to Miss Ainsley and tell her what was going to happen to her life. Do you think that once somebody does something as an employee that is so backhanded, I mean, you're going to ruin this man's life just to get some little extra money so you can buy some kid gloves? I don't know what you're doing, but you're not getting that much out of this. You're going to ruin this man's life. And people think it's cruel that you're not going to be able to work in a responsible... You lost your right to work in a responsible position. You should go to prison for what you did. And if you don't, why do you think you should be in anybody's business doing anything? He could have said, "You will never work any place again." He said, "You can earn your bread," but that's it. You lost the right to do this, and I don't see anything wrong with it.
In the talkbacks that HBO cut out, George's, the actor, was saying that, he just destroys her. He just, we see this fierce business side of George Russell. It was like, he doesn't destroy her.
No.
There are things called a background check. Right. You didn't have all these systems in place back then. Like we said, the service staff, they operate off of references.
Yep.
That's it. That is your resume, is what these people write about you to the next employer. And I agree with you. You are someone's stenographer. You are right next to I was going to say basically what we consider a secretary now. Those would be secretarial duties. It'd be what a stenographer does, because they don't do all the other stuff secretaries used to do. That's too intimate. That's all up in people's detailed of everything with their
all
business.
This documentation
people died.
Right.
People died.
There was a horrible accident. The trains, he was accused of unsafe conditions, and 5 men lost their life, and other people were injured.
I was waiting for you to get
injuries.
I was going to say how many people were injured, because we don't care about that number, and the reputation of his company. Right. There are some people regardless of his name being cleared, they're not going to trust his
Right,
railway
right.
anymore
Oh yeah,
because
he
of
just
this.
got cleared because of this, because of that, because
Yeah.
people often did just get away
And
with
he
stuff.
bought some folks off, and they like, yeah, it's pinned it on that woman.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
That I thought he was gracious. I
I-
thought he was a little forgiving.
I didn't think he was gracious or
Shoot.
forgiving. I thought it was well
He could have
placed.
destroyed her.
I think what he said was just fine.
But
I
you're
see
right,
nothing
because
cruel about it.
I don't think, like we said, she's one of those people who says, well, I didn't think that it would, and the retort is, no, you didn't think.
Right.
That's that. It's
Right.
I don't
She's
think
not
she
in-
had malicious intent, or
No.
even like, oh boy, I can't think of his name right now, but the middle manager who she was working with, Dixon.
Right.
I think Dixon didn't care. I think Dixon knew potentially what could happen, and he didn't care. I think, like she said, she was so far removed, she didn't know what could or couldn't happen. But you know, it's something nefarious.
Well, and the other thing is, she provided that letter saying that she thought it might be useful.
you
later.
say right.
She saved that letter, looking at those words. So she's
snaky.
Yeah,
You cannot be trusted.
She was doing something that you don't do at work. Period. Period. So there's a turning point also for Oscar. When Oscar and John Adams, now he's already told John Adams that he wants to marry this girl and she's got money and she's nice and blah, blah, blah.
And repeatedly talking about it in their bed.
As if John Adams doesn't have any feelings. So when they're out to dinner, he tells them, I'm going to Newport and I'm staying with Miss Fish. He said, well, I can come too. She won't mind. What's the problem? He said, well, Gladys is going to be there. And I was like, what are you talking? I'm in love with you. Are you? What do you mean? Oscar said, look, we getting old. People get suspicious. We ain't doing that. I can't do that.
Right.
We're not having that. And when the waiter comes and says, are you done? He says, I think we are, which is our hint that, okay, he's out.
Big hint, yes.
And then later on, when they're in Newport, sure enough,
this fool done showed up.
Like a jilted lover, this fool done showed up and not only imposed himself in the middle of it, but also starts flirting with Gladys, who's so clueless. I mean, she's just cackling and laughing at dinner like this man.
That
is
dinner
funny.
scene was crazy.
It was ridiculous.
But at the lawn tennis court, because it was called lawn tennis back then, at the lawn tennis court, though, I did feel bad for her, because how would she know if you're just happy to be out around people outside of that dang on house? This man is flirting with her, and they both just using her. That's it, for two different reasons.
Don't care anything about Gladys at all.
Because I thought, what if she went home after that trip thinking, oh, now she got a crush on John Adams. He didn't think about you.
Not at all. Not at all. But Oscar finally got his... he got a hint that something was going to happen, something negative.
That's his comeuppance.
He told him, "Look, what are you doing here? What do you think you're playing at? I'm playing at having a good time. What you playing at?
What I'm doing,
right.
Exactly.
You do what you do."
I was surprised to see him still in their apartment. But also, like you were saying, the times, I didn't think about how much time it would take to move out, secure something, whatever.
Do whatever you're going to do.
John, he had an attitude
and he
for
should have.
the whole rest of the, yes.
Because Oscar, again, just acted like this is fine. We can still do what we do. I'll be married. I'll still see you. That's not what John Adams said. I am in love. I am not trying to just be some. That's not what he wanted.
And like, it's funny too.
Right.
He doesn't want a casual
He jokes
relationship.
about it.
And Oscar keeps throwing this in his face, casually talking about it. You're so easy to tease. Why do you tease him so much about this?
This isn't teasing. You're being cruel.
He's so insensitive.
Yeah, he's very cruel.
But yeah, I was very happy that John finally was like,
you know what? Forget this.
Skip this.
Yeah.
I'm about to say, know your value, boy.
Yeah.
Know your worth.
Yep. Pickings may be slim, but
pick on. Something else that was tucked up in this episode too. Marion deciding to marry Rakes.
Right.
And how she did it.
Right.
So Aurora came in. And well, she was already there just 1 minute ago, and
right.
said that, I hate to tell you this, but Marion cut her off she knew she was about to say something that she didn't want to hear. That's why she cut that woman off. You
Yep.
pointed that out to me.
Yeah, she didn't want to hear it.
And then talking about, I know, don't worry, he's not my Mr. Ray. Why are you lying?
Right.
You just said he's not yours. You don't need to be worried about what
And
he's
she said,
doing.
well, if he's not yours, I'm glad he's not, because he is not.
Clearly, something happened on that outing, Marion, that you do not know about. He told you he was going, and that is all. And then you went directly up to Peggy's room and said,
I made up my mind. Everybody's against me. Aurora was not against you. Aurora was trying to tell you about something this man was doing that in 1882, 3, whatever it is, was not proper. If he's supposed to be your boo, he should not be talking to this other woman.
and nobody
like
knew
this.
about the marriage proposal except for
No.
Peggy. Aurora didn't even know about
she
that.
didn't. But Aurora thought that this was somebody that Marion
That's
was
my
interested
point.
in.
My point
Period.
is, it was obvious to everyone that he was courting her, so
Right.
that would be inappropriate. But yes, so Aurora was not against it. Aunt Ada was not against it. Peggy was not against it. The only person who's against it is Aunt Agnes.
Right.
And like he said before, why can't we just take her on? So these people are telling you to be careful, be cautious, and that makes you say, you know what? I'm
Right. I'm doing it. I'm getting married. And I
just
I
be
also,
done with it.
She should know by now that Aurora cares for her. She should know by now that she does. And she said, she started out, I'm not trying to be gossipy. I don't want to be one of those people. But Marion doesn't want to know. So Bertha finally gets up in Newport, where she wants to be, because that's where everybody spends their time during the season. And like you said, we finally get to meet Mrs. McAllister.
Yes. So mommy did some research, and apparently the real Mrs. McAllister was in poor health most of the time, and she really was off in Newport because of that reason.
Probably that and some other things,
Right.
but whatever. That's
like,
where that was the story.
You have a wife. She snuffleupagus. She exists.
She is ill and she does not go anyplace. She didn't look ill when they were sitting outside, but I guess
No.
she's fragile. But she didn't go to dinner. She didn't go to tennis.
She didn't go to the casino with the young people.
Yep, so Gladys gets to go to the casino with the young people and play tennis, and her and Larry run around looking crazy.
That was cute.
And then after they get finished with their little lame tennis game, we get to see how rude Mrs. Fish is. So this is a strange Mrs.
Oh,
Fish.
my.
We already have been introduced to how strange she is.
She didn't even follow the color code for Newport.
Yeah, she's
Did
dressed
y'all
like
notice they always wear red, white, and blue?
She's dressed as a circus clown.
She got on gold,
yellow, and
green,
bric-a-brac, and all
and-
kind of designs.
That's
and
not
just
the color code,
looking
ma'am.
crazy. But anyway, Bertha finally gets up there, and she is so concerned about how this rude woman is viewing her. Did I mess it up? Did I say to her, oh no, you're doing fine, you're doing fine. At dinner, she gets invited to her home for dinner and sits at the other end of the table.
Lord have mercy.
She's I'm here because she's tenacious. Yes, I'm here because I'm tenacious. Anything she says, she goes along with it. And Aurora is just admiring her own handiwork, thinking, "Oh my goodness, she didn't think you'd be this clever. She didn't think you'd
Amuse her.
Amuse her as much as you
Amuse
do."
her.
Even McAllister. Now, Bertha told an out-and-out lie. She asked her, did your husband stay in the city because he's on trial?
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, he's just busy. He's thorough. He has too much to do. And she goes, She asked McAllister, did I botch it? Did I buggle it? Oh, no, she'll like you all the more. She'll like you all the more because she knows you're a liar.
Yes.
Because you're quick on your feet. And so when I try to
Corporatese.
cut you up, I just come back with a quicker lie. That's something to admire.
Yep.
Okay, Bertha. But anyway, Bertha made her entrance into Newport, and in Newport, and an entrance it was.
So Bertha got to Newport with Mr. McAllister. Whole family's there except for George, just because he's being thorough back in Manhattan.
Right.
And You get invited to dinner at Mrs. Fish's table. I mean, everything is just going swimmingly.
Yeah.
It's just too bad she doesn't get to see Mama Asta's house.
Yes, what does Mrs.
Well,
Astor's house look like? And how much does it cost?
Mr. McAllister to the rescue
Yeah.
on both counts.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. I understand what he's doing because he is playing both sides at this point.
Oh, yeah.
You were curious about all her money, and okay, fine, you went and had luncheon. But now you are actively helping her.
Right. He likes her and he wants to help her.
Yeah, but
and he likes her money.
I was going to say all of the above.
Right.
However, what you're helping her to achieve does go directly against your BFF. You going to take this woman up in her house?
And the butler is going to know it, which means the butler might have something to hang over you, depending on what kind of people these are. Mm-hmm. That's a very tricky thing to do. But I think McAllister was just so puffed up in his, I'm helping you, I'm introducing you, I can show you everything. I have the keys to everything. When she's not home, I can get into the house because I'm paying off the butler. Mm-hmm. And he's going to let me.
And I'm me.
I think he just wanted to be, I am the entrance to everything. And that's what he got to do. And then when she showed up, it was like, oh, Lord. Get Mrs. Russell out of here.
Not just everything you said. I know the schedule.
Yeah, I know when she's supposed to come.
No. Now that the house is done, this is what they do now. Boy, you done messed up.
Yeah.
She done. And that's what you do. You got to pop up when they not expecting
And you do pop up because it's your house.
Yes.
What are they doing the day before I get here? Are they partying and getting drunk, or are they getting my house ready for me? Hey.
And your friends, why was that normal? Why was that normal for her to get there and them already be there and you just...
Well, welcome to your own house. Oh, I hope you approve of all of my... Oh, yeah, you're too clever for words, lady. You are too clever. Like, are these people kidding? That was okay with
just making fun of the fact that her husband is always
there,
on his yacht and she never is.
Yep.
Y'all...
Just phony as can be. Phony as can be. And now they kissing up.
What about
oh, you're so clever. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But like you said, as soon as Mama and Little Asta stepped off that carriage. Wait though, did you see Hefty was ready with the footman standing by?
Oh, yes,
he was waiting for the word. It was, she's here. Solution, no. Solution, no. Yes. Go. Get her out. That's what he wanted to say from jump. Right. She need to go.
And I mean, they went running, she huffing and puffing, throwing out the back door where they be hitting stuff and plucking stuff. And
they did such a good job once again.
Yep.
Cinematography, directors.
This is your life. This is their life.
Excellent job.
This is how they get all this ready for you.
Excellent job.
Oh,
that handheld, wherever y'all had that thing, rushing her through the... And it wasn't just... the rushed and confused feeling of it. It also gave the feeling that she was intruding into their space.
She was intruding into their space, and the space is tight, and you need to know how to maneuver. And she's being funneled through, pushed. She's used to these big, expansive rooms and stuff. And
that's another thing. That's
not where they work.
So she's going around all these tables and tools and stuff, and they're looking at her like, who is you?
Right. Why are you
in my... Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was even out the door.
Right. They still
oh, boy, it was smoke. It's like, what is...
She kept looking and looking like, what in the world is going on here? And she would... blowing feathers and huffing and puffing and being superior as she walked down the road.
You know my brain. I thought... So did she have to walk all the way back to McAllister's house?
I don't know. Unless they left mighty soon and picked up on the road, did she know which way to go?
Ain't no Ubers. You could see out of that 3rd or 4th floor window for a long way out. Asta could have been looking.
Nah, she wasn't up there.
Oh,
Somebody
my
was
goodness.
unpacking her luggage. She was taking off her stuff and bragging and showing them the ballroom.
Child. So our friend Jack... We felt so bad for Jack after his date with Bridget. She wouldn't even let him hold her hand.
And then wouldn't let him talk about it afterwards. He was still because the first one was a shock in the show.
Right.
So he's thinking, oh, something must be wrong. But then she doesn't want to go to coffee. She doesn't want to go for ice cream and won't even hold his hand, just cringes like that. And then in the kitchen, he's like, just tell me
what I do wrong. Because again, from his perspective, you agreed to go on this date with me. So there must have been something that I did
Right.
between the beginning and the end that messed it up. And apparently she's acting weird and cold around him after the date too.
Which she didn't do before.
Right. So it's like, what's happening? If you don't communicate with people, you can't solve anything.
Yeah, don't be mad when they don't understand you because you didn't tell them anything.
So now she mad.
Right.
She mad because she said, why he got flowers if he ain't going nowhere special?
Just peeping around and talking about it.
And Mrs. Bauer said, because that ain't what he doing, but that's none of our business. She's like, I know he's lying. We all know he's lying. Leave him alone.
And let him have his fun. You didn't want to be bothered. Leave him alone.
I love how she talks to them like she's their mother.
Yeah.
It was like, he's seeing another young lady. You can't be mad because he's seeing another young lady.
And that's that was weird too, how quickly Miss Bauer flipped and said, okay, go on, get your coat. It was like, really?
It took her about 3 times.
Yeah, but still, it was in a very short period of time. That was very, I was like, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me. I don't think I would have
I chalked that up to most of it being, you are like my daughter, so I gave in. And a little bit of it, I think she was a little curious. Bridget threw Mrs. Bauer under the bus at the cemetery talking about Mrs. Bauer and I were wondering.
Miss Bauer wasn't wondering nothing.
She was minding her business.
Miss Bauer assumed that he had a young lady and she didn't care.
She was not pressed.
No,
but
you cared.
I think the actors did do a good job talking about their relationship and how it evolved from that scene and that whole, it wasn't just that scene, it was her curiosity, because it did start with the jealousy,
right,
in order for her to do all of that, but her feelings toward him had already changed before she followed him out there.
Oh, she did, or she wouldn't have followed him.
Exactly.
Yep. She does have the feelings that she has for a very good reason. However, she can see that Jack isn't, I think she senses that he's not a predatory person.
Right.
But she still can't, she's just gonna, but once he stops trying to pursue her, then it's like, wait a minute.
Right.
Now you're not interested anymore? Mm-hmm. Well, no, he's not. He gave it the best try he could give, and he has feelings too. And I think that, yeah, that talk I think her feelings had already changed for the positive, but I think the talk at the cemetery and at the grave site, I think that's just confirmed that, yeah, this is a person, like when he said nobody else had ever loved him, and I'm sure that's not right. And he said, no, you're not. That was so heartbreaking.
I'm gonna say heartbreaking.
Just
and
heartbreaking.
She felt it too.
Yeah, of course she felt it.
It was the shared pain as
Exactly.
well. We both got fucked up childhoods.
Yep.
And nobody knows exactly what you went through, even when it's a similar experience. They had totally different experiences.
But they were both horrible.
But still, I ain't got no parents.
Right.
I don't really have parents.
Right.
And the way that I don't have parents is really messed up.
Yep. Either way. Both.
And they did a good job of educating us too.
They did.
Because once again, real life stuff from history.
Right.
Everybody knows about the Chicago fire, San Francisco fire,
yep.
and Atlanta, the Civil War.
Right.
But yeah, what's your notable huge fires?
Yeah.
The same time.
Yep, and I
ain't never
like
heard
she said, but like Bridget said, I have never heard of Pestigo.
No,
but I have now.
We now have Jack. Yeah,
so, no excuse.
We have now
Pestigo.